everyone, welcome back to another quick tutorial. In today's video, we are going to build a live character counter using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Here's a quick preview of how the output looks like. As I type inside the box, watch how the number updates in real time to reflect the number of characters I have entered. It gives a quick immediate feedback, which is super useful for things like social media posts or messages. Once you have typed over 170 characters, the background turns into orange. As soon as you hit 200 character limit, the background color switches to red. We start with the HTML structure. In the body, I have added a container div. Inside that, we have a heading that says live character count. Below that is a text area where the user will type their message. It has a max length of 200, which means user can only type up to 200 characters. Finally, we got a paragraph below the text area that displays live count. We are using a span tag with an ID of character count and initializing it with 0. Now that our HTML structure is set, it's time to make it look nice with some CSS styling. I start by resetting the default padding and margin on all the elements using the universal selector, and I set box sizing property to border box to make the sizing easier to manage. Then I style the body to take the full height of the viewport and give it a fresh green background color. Using Flexbox, I center the container both vertically and horizontally on the screen. The container itself has a clean white background with some generous padding, rounded corners and a subtle shadow to add depth. I also limit its maximum width to 400 pixels and center the text inside for a neat appearance. For the text area, I make it stretch the full width of container and set its height to 200 pixels, adding padding so it's comfortable to type in. I give it a subtle border with rounded corners and I disable resizing to keep the layout consistent. Finally, I style the character counter text with a little margin on the top, a slightly smaller font size, and a muted grey color. First, I am selecting the text area input and the span where we will be displaying the character count. We'll use this element to read users' input and update the live count. Now I'm defining a constant for the maximum allowed characters, which is 200. This makes our code easier to maintain if we want to make any change to the limit later. Now I add an event listener for the input event on the text area. This event fires every time the user types or deletes a character. Inside the event handler, I get the current length of the text and update the displayed character count accordingly. Finally, I use conditional statement to change the background color dynamically. If the length is between 171 and 199, the background turns orange to warn the user. When the maximum length is of 200 is reached, the background color turns red to signal the limit. Otherwise, the background color remains green to indicate there's still room to type. That's all for our live character counter. We have learned how to update the character count live and change the background color dynamically with JavaScript. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.